Hey everyone! If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you makes a huge difference. Join the community, drop a like, and let's make this journey epic together. Thanks for the support. Dinner at my place? That was the last thing he said before the call dropped. I didn't hesitate. Joe and I had been seeing each other for a while. It was summer, and Joe was hot, literally. His dark gray eyes were mysterious, but warm. He looked like someone who spent hours at the gym. Tall, strong, and confident. His brown curls fell just right, messy but not too much. Sometimes, he tied them back. Other times, they hung loose, giving him a different look every time I saw them. We first met at the bank. "How may I help you, ma'am?" Those were the first words he ever said to me. I stood at the counter, and he was behind it. His voice sent a spark through me. Something about the way he spoke made me pause. "You're new here, right?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am." "Just got transferred," he replied with a small smile. "Well, welcome." I smiled back. "Thank you, ma'am." "No. Call me Sarah." After he helped me, I left my card on the counter. 2 days later, he called. Our dates followed, one after another. First, the museum. Then the park. Then the movies. The last one was a fancy restaurant near my apartment. The sun was setting as I got ready for tonight. I laid everything out on the bed. Black dress. Red heels. Red purse. Matching bra and panties. Perfect. In less than an hour, I was dressed and ready to go. My phone buzzed. 24 Weston Street. It was Joe. I smiled and peeked out the window. A car waited outside. When I arrived, he opened the door. "You look beautiful," he said, his eyes sweeping over me. "Thank you." I smiled. He stared for a moment too long. "Well, can I come in?" I teased. "Oh, sorry, please, come in." The room glowed with soft lights. Candles flickered on the table. The air smelled sweet, like vanilla and spice. Music played quietly in the background. "This is nice," I said, looking around. "I wanted tonight to feel special," he whispered, stepping closer. And then, the world slowed down. The table was set perfectly. Plates, glasses, even flowers in the center. It felt like a scene from a movie, romantic, but real. "Please, sit," Joe said, pulling out my chair. I sat down, watching him move around the room. He poured wine into 2 glasses, and handed me one. His hands were steady, his movements smooth. I couldn't help but notice how calm he seemed, like he'd done this 100 times before. "This looks amazing," I said, looking at the food. There was pasta, salad, and warm bread on the table. Simple but thoughtful. "I hope you like it," he replied, sitting across from me. We ate slowly, talking about small things, work, movies, random memories. But there was something else in the air. A quiet tension, like we both knew where the night might lead. Joe's eyes kept looking at mine. Every time they did, my skin tingled. I tried to focus on the food, but it was hard. My mind kept drifting to the way he looked at me, the way his voice softened when he spoke. When dinner was over, he stood up and cleared the plates. I watched him as he moved around the kitchen. His arms flexed slightly as he stacked dishes. Even that small motion made my heart race. He came back with a dessert bowl of ice cream. "Oh, no bowls?" I teased him when he put it on the table. "No need for those," he said with a grin. I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Before I could say more, he dipped his finger into the ice cream and held it out to me. "Taste," he said softly. I leaned forward and licked the cold sweetness off his finger. The moment lingered longer than it should have. His eyes stayed locked on mine, dark and intense. Then, he leaned closer. His lips brushed against mine, soft at first, then deeper. My breath caught. His hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me closer. The kiss deepened, slow and steady. His lips were warm, his touch firm but gentle. I felt my body respond before my mind could catch up. My hands found their way to his chest, feeling the strength beneath his shirt. Joe pulled back just enough to look at me. His breathing was heavier now, his eyes searching mine. "You have no idea how long I've wanted this," he whispered. I didn't answer. Instead, I kissed him again, harder this time. He groaned softly, his fingers tangling in my hair. The sound sent a shiver through me. He stood up, pulling me with him. His arms wrapped around my waist, lifting me slightly off the ground. I laughed softly, wrapping my legs around him. He carried me to the couch, laying me down gently. For a moment, we just looked at each other. The room was quiet except for our breathing. The candles flickered, casting soft shadows on the walls. Joe's hand traced along my jawline, then down my neck. His touch was light, almost teasing. I tilted my head back, giving him more access. His lips followed, kissing my throat, my collarbone. Each touch made my skin feel warmer, more alive. I reached for his shirt, tugging it upward. He helped me pull it off, revealing his toned chest. My fingers ran over his skin, exploring every curve and line. He closed his eyes for a second, letting out a low breath. Then, his hands moved lower, finding the zipper of my dress. He paused, looking at me for permission. I nodded, my heart pounding. The dress came off easily, leaving me in just my red bra and panties. Joe's gaze swept over me, slow and appreciative. "You're beautiful," he murmured, his voice rough with emotion. Joe leaned down, his lips brushing against mine again. This time, there was no holding back. His kisses were deeper, hungrier. My body responded instinctively, arching toward him, craving more of his touch. His hands moved over my skin, warm and deliberate. He traced the edge of my bra, teasing me with soft touches. I let out a small gasp when his fingers slipped underneath, brushing against my chest. "You're so soft," he whispered, his voice low and rough. I reached for him, pulling him closer. My fingers dug into his shoulders as his mouth moved lower, kissing my neck, my collarbone, then lower still. Each kiss sent waves of heat through me, building slowly but steadily. He unhooked my bra and slid it off gently, tossing it aside. His eyes stayed on mine as his hands explored, touching me with care but also urgency. I felt myself trembling, though not from cold. "Tell me what you want," he murmured, his breath warm against my skin. I hesitated for a moment, unsure how to put it into words. But then I realized I didn't need to. My body spoke for me. I arched my back slightly, pressing myself closer to his hands. He smiled faintly, understanding. His fingers teased me lightly before moving lower, tracing along my stomach. I bit my lips, anticipation building inside me. When his hand reached the edge of my panties, he paused again, looking at me. I nodded, my breathing uneven. He slid them off slowly, his touch feather light. Then, his fingers found their way between my legs, gentle at first, then firmer. A soft moan escaped my lips. "You like that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I could only nod, my body trembling under his touch. Joe's touch grew more confident, his fingers moving with purpose. My breath came in short bursts, my body responding to every stroke. I clung to him, my nails grazing his back as the tension inside me built higher and higher. "You're so beautiful," he whispered again, his lips brushing against my ear. "So perfect." His words sent another wave of heat through me. I couldn't think anymore, only feel. His rhythm shifted, faster now, driving me closer to the edge. My legs trembled, my hands gripping his arms tightly. "Joe," I breathed, my voice shaky. He kissed me deeply, silenced whatever else I might have said. His other hand slid under my back, holding me close as if he never wanted to let go. And then it happened, a rush of warmth, a wave of release that left me breathless. My body shuddered, overwhelmed by the intensity. I cried out softly, my voice blending with his low groan. For a moment, we stayed like that, tangled together, our breathing heavy and uneven. The room felt quieter now, the only sound our hearts were slowing down. Joe rested his forehead against mine, his eyes closed. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. I nodded, still catching my breath. "More than okay." He smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Then, he pulled me closer, wrapping his arms around me. We lay there together, skin against skin, the candlelight flickering around us. "I've been waiting for this too," I admitted quietly, tracing circles on his chest. He chuckled softly. "Me too. But I didn't want to rush it." "You didn't," I assured him. "It was worth the wait." We stayed like that for a while, talking softly about nothing and everything. The night stretched on, warm and peaceful. For the first time in a long time, I felt completely safe, completely happy. When the candles burned low, Joe stood up and grabbed a blanket, draping it over us. He kissed my forehead gently before settling back beside me. "Sleep," he suggested, his voice soft. I nodded, snuggling closer to him. As I drifted off, I realized something: this wasn't just about passion or desire. It was about connection, the kind that lingers long after the moment fades. If you've made it this far, I know my story has left an impact on you. There's so much more to share, and you won't want to miss any of it. Make sure to hit that follow button, turn on notifications, and leave a comment about this story. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, so let's chat in the comments. Your support means the world to me.